Hey, good morning to all of you, my dearest students who are taking global international marketing, strategic management, entrepreneurial development, and principles of marketing. So for this day, I have identified a very special topic, which is very, very useful in your business development approach. Whether you are into a private sector governance, corporate governance, or the government itself. The topic for today will be the intensified loss of power in the perspective of market penetration, business dealing, and governance. This material was taken from the brilliant book entitled The Loss of Power of Just Elfers and Robert Greene. Many success stories from kings, emperors, prime ministers, presidents, CEOs, chairmen of the board, and many more top officials in their respective divisions, respective specializations have used the principles and concepts of this loss of power. So I really, really firmly believe that same with you, you'd be able to use this later on in the future when you do your business dealing, when you do your marketing, when you do your negotiation, whether it's in the local or international levels. That's a guarantee, that's an assurance. Okay, let's try to move to the next part. Okay. So the first law or the first principle is never outshine the master. Always make those people above you feel comfortably superior in their own sense. In your desire to please or impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite. Inspire fear and insecurity. Make them more appear brilliant than they are, and you may attain the heights of power. So in short, as much as possible, when you're facing your boss, your immediate head, or your superior, or whoever who is a person of high nobility, never ever outshine them. Even though you know that you're much, much brilliant, much smarter, much wiser than them. Because many times it does not follow, it does not necessarily mean that you are the subordinate, you are the apprentice, then your master is superior. It does not mean that they're right all the time. Many times that they are just the seniors, that's why they were there ahead of you. But you may be more experienced, you may have the higher training. But of course, you don't have to show that all the time. You only have to display your talents during the time it is needed, when the need arises. It's not all the time that you flaunt or you showcase. Otherwise, you will not get what you want. Remember, you have to please people. You have to please the people higher than you in order for them to bring you up or lift you up or carry you along with them. So always remember the principle, never outshine the master. But of course, it does not necessarily mean that you have to lower yourself all the time. No. It's just that you can still showcase who you are, your greatness, but provided it will not insult him or her. You always have to uplift him or her in order for your master to bring you up to higher grounds. Okay, so that's number one. Never forget, never outshine the master. Number two, another important principle, never put too much in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Like even in politics, as they normally say, there's no such thing as permanent friends or no such thing as permanent allies. No such thing as permanent alliances, but only permanent interests. So you may have good friends, you may have solid friends, but it's not all the time that you have to trust them. Like what it says here, be wary of friends, they will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical. But hire a former enemy and he'll be more loyal than a friend because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find ways to have one. So in short, it simply says that not everything can be entrusted to a friend. Remember, a friend is your co-equal. Remember, anybody who is in your co-equal status will always feel comfortable with you. So the more that you rely too much on your friends, the more that he or she thinks that she should always be equal with you. But it's not all the time like that because our advancement level really differs time to time. Even at birth, we have our own fate. We are fated differently from one another. We have our own destiny. Even if you check your fingerprints, thumb marks, twins will never have the same fingerprints and thumb marks, and the palm of your hand will always be unique. Remember, this world that has produced more than billions of people, but in that billions of people, you'll be surprised. No one is always the same. Even the palm will be different from one another. You may have identical looks. Twins may have identical look, but the only defining factor will be the one written in your hands, in your palms. Your fingerprints and thumb marks will always be different. So the mistake of many friends is they think that, oh, I will always be behind if this friend of mine is always advancing. Of course, that's not the reality, but not all people understands that. That is why never ever trust friends. You may keep them for good company, but these days it's not easy to rely on them. These days it's better to trust yourself all the time. And sometimes you'll be surprised that enemies, you may have a painful past or painful encounters, but later on, once you reconcile, once you start aligning yourself, once you start creating alliance, it will be much, much, much stronger and powerful. And the more that they have to prove themselves to you for them to be trusted. So, but these are seasonal trust. It should not be a lifetime, but still maximize them while they're still there. Remember, things change. There's no such thing as permanent. The permanence does not exist. Okay. So as much as possible, for you to be successful in your endeavor, whether government, business, or any kind of venture, as much as possible, don't involve your friends. Friends is friends. They have a purpose for unwinding, for relaxing, for great getaway, for enjoyment, but not for business. Remember, even family businesses are also complicated if you notice. That's why as much as possible, if you take MBA or in MBA classes, in MBA schools, if you notice, there is a specialized subject entitled Managing Family Business, because managing family business is not always easy. There are a lot of complications. You know, some people, based on surveys, they will always say, oh, it's better to work to a different boss rather to work with your own relatives or with your own family, because it's very tiring to work with people whom they are comfortable with you. They will somehow maximize you to an unlimited extent, which I believe you will not like. As compared if you work for a stranger, if you work for a person who has just professional dealings with you, the tendency is that they will always put limits within work hours and beyond work hours. Okay, so never forget this principle number 2, never put too much trust in friends. Sometimes learn how to use enemies. But the safest statement there, never put too much in friends, especially when it comes to business, governance, and profession. You may trust them on some matters that are not so complicated. But when it comes to deals, as much as possible, don't always involve them. Friends are just best as a shock absorber. If you have problems, if you have sentiments, if you have wonderful experiences, they are the ones who can somehow be the best absorber of those things. And they can also reciprocate it back. They can also be good in providing advice, but involving them is always a different story. Okay, another one, the third law is conceal your intentions. Keep people off balance and in dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. Without a clue as to what you are up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize their intentions, it will be too late. Always make yourself unpredictable when it comes to your business decisions. Don't allow people to find it easy for them to detect you. Don't always show patterns, because the more you show patterns, the more that they will not respect you, the more that they know how to maneuver or counterattack at you. So as much as possible, if you have a good business brilliant idea, Don't always post it, showcase it, or tell it to many people. Even inside the office, you may have a brilliant business idea, but make sure don't squeak it, don't showcase it right away in the board meeting. You have to weigh things first as much as possible. Try to assess if the people around you is trustworthy for that, or if that people is the person that can help you make that idea come true. But as much as possible, listen, share your sharing, because otherwise, being predictable can be the start of your downfall. So as much as possible, always consider intentions unless the need arises. Same here with this another principle, always say less than necessary. When you're trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear and the less in control. Even if you're saying something banal, it will seem original if you make it vague, open-ended, and things like powerful people impress and intimidate by saying yes. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. So similar with the earlier principle, always say less than necessary and conceal your intentions. Don't think that if you are good in words, that if you know a lot of high power words, that you have to use that all the time to impress people. No. Sometimes you have to be simple and just speak with sense. The more you speak with sense, no matter how simple is that, the more it is understood and the more that it becomes clear to many people, the more it provides clarity. Because the more you impress people with words, the more that you appear foolish. So as much as possible, always say less than necessary. Always be cautious. Do not be over talkative, because some people, when they get excited, they keep on sharing this idea, this idea, this idea, thinking without thinking that that people can use that idea far ahead of them. Because not all of us act quickly, especially if we are not yet in the proper timing. That's why always be alert. Say things, do things if it's already in the right time. If you feel that it's already in the right time, but if it's too early, as much as possible, avoid it. That can be one of your failures. That can be the cause of your downfall, which happened to many people in the past. So much depends on your reputation. Guard it with your life. This may be a bit difficult, but this is one of the principles of the laws of power that still we have to undertake. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. Through reputation alone, you can intimidate and win. Once it slips, however you're vulnerable, it will be attacked on all sides. On all sides, I'm sorry. So make your reputation unassailable. Always be alert to potential attacks and thwart them before they happen. Meanwhile, learn to destroy your enemies by opening holes in their own reputations. Then stand aside and let public opinion hang them. It is another tough undertaking. So much depends on your reputation. Guard it with your life. That's why if you notice, like what I've told you in the past many lectures, even figures, personalities, or any prominent people, or even if you're not yet prominent, if you're aspiring to be one, if you're dreaming to be one, to be a public figure someday, regardless of your field, people who wants that will always avail of the PR services. It may be expensive, yes. It costs around $1,000 to $2,000 per month in the duration of that undertaking. Say, for example, politicians running for higher political positions, they will be needing a PR, a political strategist, and a public relations expert for a period of 6 months, for example, for a period of 4 months, because the campaign period, if I'm not mistaken, is around 3 to 4 months. But of course, prior to that, you're already building your reputation. So you have to pay that. You have to guard it at all costs. It's really expensive. So it will really depend on your purpose. If you want to be big, if you want to be great, may not be you, but your business, you really have to take care of your reputation. We know it's not easy these days, because any people these days can easily make you or can easily break you because of the power of the social media. Your reputation is always at stake. That's why you have to guard it most of the time. You should be careful with your words, with your actions, with your movements. One single move can cause you great despair. And it takes ages, again, to build up your reputation. Sometimes people change their names because they lost their reputation. Many celebrities do that, many politicians do that, and many more public personalities do that. It's too sad. That's why, as early as possible, always be alert. But as we know, we cannot please everybody. Whatever you do, you always have haters, likers, or whichever. But as long as you can manage to save your reputation, save it. But if you cannot, if your reputation is destroyed, create a different diversionary approach to rebuild your reputation. That's why it's very expensive to maintain your reputation. And it's much more expensive to build a new reputation, but always take care of reputation. If it cannot, let the PR do it for you. Save money, invest on it. It should be part of your investment and your expenses. Public relations to maintain your good image. Because we may not stay here forever in this world, in this planet Earth, but our reputations are recorded in the history lifetime. Not just in history books, not just in magazines, but also in National Bureau of Investigations or in Philippine National Police. Yeah, everything is recorded there. Especially right now, everything is digitized, so meaning it will be long lasting as compared if you were alive or during the past centuries where records were not yet digitized. It can be prone to burning, decaying, or whichever. Create an air of mystery. So never make it too clear what you're doing or about to do. Do not show all your cards as much as possible. Mystery and uncertainty create anticipation. Everyone will want to know what comes next. Use mystery to beguile, seduce, or even frighten. Like similar to the earlier principle. As much as possible, don't make yourself too predictable. Always appear mysterious because the more you are mysterious, the more your market value increases. The more that people always look forward to what happens next about you, whatever you can offer. Never always be too common as much as possible. It may sound harsh, but if you really want to be the best of the best, always create that air of mystery. Be mysterious in a positive way, of course. Don't be a mysterious criminal, mysterious serial killer, or mysterious rapist. Be a mysterious businessman or mysterious business. What else can they offer aside from your specialization? Okay, this may not sound nice, but this is also practical and useful in your business development. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. So use the wisdom, knowledge, and legwork of other people to further your own cause. Not only will such assistance save your valuable time and energy, it will give you also a godlike aura of efficiency and speed. In the end, your helpers will be forgotten, but you will be remembered. Never do yourself what others can do for you. Okay, this may sound harsh, but this is the reality. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. So in short, to make things simpler for this, when you have a great business idea, or whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employee, whether you're an NGO worker, always build a team for you. Always build a team because your team, especially apprentices, on-the-job trainees, practicumers, normally for them, credit is not much important. For them, they're complying on something or they're trying to prove themselves with something else. And that's the time that you maximize their services, their workforce. Because in the end, you're the star. You're the figure already. You're the head in your organization or you are the head in your department or your division. So use these people to provide faster results. And in the end, it will stay you, will benefit. Same with many politicians these days. You'll be surprised. Like, for example, Mayor Isko Moreno. It's very fast. Huh? If you notice, his tagline, his positioning statement is Bilis Kilos, meaning fast action. But if you notice, he was able to create his forces. He was able to create a team very efficient that can reach out to all parts of the country. Many politicians, many candidates are too slow, but Isko is a very visionary to the point that he was able to build a team, and the credit always goes to him. So always build a team for you to earn credits positively and not use other people for your own benefit. Make sure everybody benefits. Win through your actions, never through arguments. Any momentary triumph you think you have gained through argument is really a fiery victory. The resentment and ill will will steer you up stronger and last longer than any momentary change of opinion. It is much more powerful to get others to agree with you through your actions without saying a word. Demonstrate, do not explicate. So win through your actions, never through argumentation. It's tough, as we know, because sometimes people are stubborn. People does not want to believe with your statement. That's true. It's not all the time that people will always listen to you. Some of people have biases. Some people always rely on the brand or the person or the persona first before they trust. Sometimes if your name is tainted with a very bad name, whatever you do, sometimes whatever you say, whatever you say, they will not easily believe. But actions, as they say, speak louder than words. So if in the past, because too sad in the schools, it was taught the wrong way. According to some schools and to some young parents, they will always say, oh, always stand up and fight. Always show your supremacy. That's why if you notice among kids, among male kids, the more that you fight physically, you engage yourself into fist fighting, the more that you appear cool in front of your classmates. That's taught. That's how it happened. That's what it is taught, but it's wrong. Because if you bring that attitude, you bring that kind of impression once you becomes adult, once you enters the workforce, once you becomes a professional, it's no longer proper. It's no longer right that you enter arguments or fist fight, because the more that you argue, the more people avoid you, the less that people will entrust you. So just be silent. Just have a thick face. But work through your actions. Like Mayor Isko Moreno, people attack him, people criticize him, people politicize him, but let the achievement speak for itself. Look at what he did. He created a lot of great housing, the condominium. He was very fast in providing vaccines, medicines. In fact, he was saying that, or very evident, not just in words, but in actions, Manila, the old Manila, the city of Manila became the pharmaceutical capital of the country. They became the medicine cabinet of the country, because other cities cannot provide medicines, but the city of Manila will always have enough. And that action will lead that person to greater heights. That's why actions. Let people somehow demean you, insult you sometimes, but never ever argue as much as possible. Because the more you argue, the more that you will lose, the more that you will appear stupid, the more that your health will be affected. So keep cool. Yeah, let them. But in the end, show the results. Let them criticize you, that's normal. But in the end, it's always in the end that justifies the means. So let your achievements shock them. Okay? Infection, avoid the unhappy and unlucky. You can die, you can be affected from someone else's misery. Emotional states are as infectious as diseases. You may think you are helping the drowning man, but you are only precipitating your own disaster. The unfortunate sometimes draw misfortune on themselves. They will also apply and draw it on you. Associate with the happy and fortunate instead. The more that you hang out with people who are always having miseries, always being a negative thinker, it will slowly gravitate towards you. Remember the laws of energy. So as much as possible, if people around you are being always unhappy and lucky, as much as possible, diffuse the energy. Always change the topic to positivity. I mean, easier said than done, correct? Because you may think positively. You may be a positive person, but the problem here is if your workmates, if your family members, every time you go home after school or after work, then suddenly you'll be encountering people like this. What's the solution? If you can try to spread the air of positivity, or yeah, don't let others get you affected, maintain inside your aura the positivity, then you'll be able to achieve it. Don't be carried away with your emotions, or in yourself, don't create that kind of negativity, because people will avoid you and you will no longer be the repeatable, powerful person that you ought to be. Okay, another interesting one. Learn to keep people dependent on you. Okay. To maintain your independence, you must always be needed and wanted. The more that you're relied on, the more freedom you have. Make people depend on you for their happiness and prosperity, and you have nothing to fear. Never teach them enough so that they can do without you. Okay, interesting thing. For your job, for example, or for your business, or for your political power to remain and to retain, as much as possible, learn people to keep depending on you. Because if you share everything, if you share your trade secrets to everybody, the more that they learn, the more that they will detach yourself from you. So always create that kind of impact that you are always dependable, that you're always an asset, that you're always needed. If you will be able to do that, people will keep on looking for you. Same also with your loved ones. The more that you are highly valuable, the more that you have value, then the more that they will cling onto you. Same also with the workplace, with your bosses. The more that you are an asset, the more that you provide that specialty to them, then they will never let go of you. So the more that you can demand, the more that you can have your own time, the more that you can demand that, oh, I could be your consultant here, but I have to be consultant also to another company. But you can promise them that you will not share, of course, the internal secrets or internal strategies for that company. So meaning the more that you can demand for a higher rate or a better schedule. So this is also very interesting. Learn to keep people dependent on you, because the more people are dependent on you, the more that your market value increases, the more that they'll be needing you, and you will never be out of the circulation. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. So if you notice, if you need to turn on to an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find ways to ignore you, but instead uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him, and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. So very basic. In short, the mistake of many people, especially people who are not so rich and prominent, especially the ones who is in heavy crisis. Normally, when they ask for help, they completely beg. They simply ask for, I need money, I need food, I need medicines, I need tuition fee, I need scholarship assistance. Of course, it will not work all the time. For your request to be granted, always remember the concept or the principle of ex nihilo, something for something. Always offer first. You want to borrow money, offer something, not necessarily a collateral, but offer an opportunity. You can temporarily promise something, that you will be engaging to a certain business activity with that person, or that you will open wider opportunities for him or her, depending on what you can offer. But as much as possible, don't promise things that you cannot do. Don't promise the heavens. Promise something that is very realistic. So in short, always remember this principle. When asking help, as much as possible, always offer something. Always offer an opportunity. It may not be a present opportunity because you have nothing, but always offer something that you can do for the future. Or if you want to win a business contract with the government, offer them something. For example, you can offer them PR services that will uplift their government agency or the reputation of the public figure. So always remember, when asking help, always appeal to their interests. Even when asking money from your parents or from whoever, from your spouses, of course, tickle their hearts, tickle their minds, for them to somehow be interested also in helping you. It's not one-sided. Remember, when you're negotiating, when you're dealing, always make sure it is a win-win. Okay. Okay. Plenty more for this. Plenty more. But of course, we'll chop this first so it can fit YouTube or it can fit the platform. But sorry, as per your activity and assignment, which is also due this day until 11:59, I wish or I want that you choose at least 6 laws of power of Juice L first that you believe is very useful, very practical, very applicable in your day-to-day life. And choose another 4 more that you believe that is applicable in your business deals in the future. Okay, 6 and 4. Then explain it to me. I mean, explain it there. Why did you choose that, and how can it help you based on this loss of power? Then you can submit your work to me until today, 11:59, via my email address or via my messenger. I'll be waiting for that. Okay. So questions, please reserve your questions. I'll be answering it soon once we see each other on a live session.